Good evening, and welcome to Creative Broadcasting, the station of unlimited possibilities. Presents Creating Your Seat at the Table with your host, Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Welcome to Creating Your Seat at the Table. I am your host, Dr. Ashley Little. A little bit about myself: corporate executive by day, serial entrepreneur by night, CEO and founder of Ashley Little Enterprises, LLC, and founder and owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLC. Tonight, we have an amazing VIP guest by the name of Leela Zion. A little bit about her. Leela is the host and creator of the Healing Room podcast, where she inspires the general public through her interviews with creative, holistic healers and mental health professionals. Leela became passionate about mental health and holistic healing when her personal journey as an entrepreneur became exasperating. In 2012, she began applying intentional practices to increase her physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. She found it more pleasant to lead her nonprofit Shift, Sisters Hoping and Faith Together, and personal training company. Leela's transparent, holistic journey has inspired many to live a healthier and more intentional life. Leela graduated from Concordia University with a bachelor's in communications and attained a CBT, Cognitive Behavior Life Coach certification. In her free time, she enjoys mothering her plants, meditating, praying, reading, and playing the guitar. Welcome to the table, the amazing Leela. How are you?
I'm doing good, Ashley. How are you?
I am great. Well, I'm excited to have you at the table tonight. So I know our amazing audience have heard your bio. So tell us more about your journey.
Absolutely. Well, like all of us, we have various things that have happened over the course of our life. And for me personally, my journey has just been about coming into my authentic self, becoming my authentic self. That for me has just been a staple in my life for years and years and years. And growing, going through trials, experiencing tribulations, but also overcoming and learning more of who I am, loving myself more and what have you. All of these experiences have really shaped me into the woman that I am today. And so my journey is just filled with so much, from love and loss. It's filled with just growth and pain, but then also, lots of positivity and pleasure and learning more of myself. So that's a little bit about my journey.
I love it. So you're very passionate about, the media, been in it for a while. Tell us why you're so passionate about media.
Well, for me, as a little girl, I started journaling at 12 years old, specifically because my dad refused to let me go to a birthday party because I had tried to sneak some boys in when I was in middle school. It was my older cousin's idea at the time, but I took the fall. And since then, I was stuck in that room all day as a punishment, and my mom blessed me with a little journal that I just started writing my feelings in. That's like really that experience really opened me up to the possibility of becoming a writer and a journalist. And so after that, years later, obviously graduated from high school, went to school for journalism. I even have flashbacks of me using the typewriter, and I have flashbacks of me correcting my own work, editing my own work, which is work that I do now. So I'm very passionate about journalism. I'm very passionate about media because it's a space where I can express myself without having to be physically seen. But the emotion in the writing for me is how I connect with the reader or the viewer if I'm speaking. So just from 12 years old, I knew that I was called to speak. I was called to write. And writing has really healed me in so many different facets. Just having that space to express myself in a form where I'm not judged, but it's also a very healing space to write and to just let everything out on paper versus to a human where you might feel judged at times. So writing and media has a very special space in my heart.
So let's dig more into it. So we know we have people who are listening that's probably looking to grow in the media industry. So what are some strategies you would give to listeners who are looking to grow in the media industry?
I would really say know your strengths because the media industry is very vast. There's so many different types of journalism out there. You have your news reporters, you have your anchors, you have your correspondents, you have your publicists, you have your editorials, you have your writers. The list is long. So really know your strengths, and you have to really study. Journalism, media is not something that is natural for everyone, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not attainable for everyone. For me personally, I read books, I bought books, I invested in my career. I obviously went to school for it, as I said before, and I took a lot of jobs. I started doing local newspaper, started writing for my school newspaper, then did local newspapers. I did internships with news stations, production company internships. I did a lot. I got my hands on anything I could get my hands on for the experience. And I was very humble about it. And so I think it's just really about knowing your strengths and humbling yourself enough to get to a space where you can prepare your mind, body, and soul to learn. That's the best advice I would give.
I love that. So that's so important, right? You know, it's so important that you educate yourself on, if you're definitely looking to grow in the media, that you understand that it is different type of journalism, right? And I think sometimes people miss that part for lack of knowledge, right? From lack of knowledge. And so can you speak to the importance of mentoring in the media industry? Why is it so important to, to seek out mentorship?
It's so very important to seek out mentorship in anything that you want to be great at, because there's always somebody that got anointed before you to carry, the baton. Really, at the end of the day, even when you look at, the Bible, you see there's so many different people who had to go through training. You look at David and Saul. You look at all of these different examples, and it's like, okay, somebody has to teach me for me to grow. You have to build the strength, you have to build the muscle, you have to build the character. So for me, it's learning from other people's mistakes. That's one reason why it's so important for you to seek out mentorship. The second reason is for you to learn things that you haven't learned before. So learning doesn't just come from other people sharing with you what they've learned. You also learn by experience. You also learn based on situations. Learning is very situational. I just think that when you're in a space in your season of learning, you get to a space where you'll know if you're transforming, because you're placed in different types of circumstances where your character will really speak for your growth. So I learned so much from being in different situations and being around different people. And not only did that apply to my media career or my career as a speaker, it really applied to my day-to-day life. It applied to my spiritual life. Discernment is a huge gift that I carry personally because of being around so many different people and being able to understand different characters and personalities and how to navigate my way through. I'm not perfect. I got those moments where I'm ready to pop off, but it's like, there's a time and season for you to speak and express yourself, and there's a way to do that. So yeah, I just really think mentorship is important.
And speaking of that, you are the CEO, host and creator of the Healing Room podcast. Tell us more about that and how people can listen, support, and how they can become a guest. Because healing, that's so important, right? The Healing Room podcast. I love the name of it. Tell us more about it.
Thank you. So the Healing Room podcast for me comes from a very, very sacred space. The Healing Room podcast stemmed from a time when I was going through a tragic divorce and I needed to figure out a way to heal without inviting everybody into that season. I'm very protective of, my personal relationships. And I mean, it's funny because people would think, oh, you're in media, you write, you speak, you're host. You must be an extrovert, but the reality is I'm actually an introvert. I'm an INFJ. T is what I'm categorized in the personality traits, the Myers-Briggs, and it's like, yeah, I'm 1,000% an introvert. And so the Healing Room stemmed from me using a specific space in my home for me to meet God, meet myself, meet my problems every single day. And every time I went to that space, it was a different experience. Some days I was crying, some nights I was happy. Some days I was praying, some days I was laughing and just enjoying like something I wouldn't usually watch, comedy, because I mean, busy people don't really have time for leisure. So I was one of those people who didn't have time for leisure, but that traumatic relationship, situation caused me to have to be still and sit with myself. So the Healing Room was birthed from my personal experience and my personal journey from healing. Now I thought to myself, how many women and men out there who need a space like this? Not even like an actual room that I could provide them, but just the concept alone of healing and finding room in your life for you to focus on your healing, your needs, the questions that you never really answered. It's important. So the Healing Room is not really physical. It's really a spiritual sacred space. And the podcast is birthed from that. So now I host conversations with creatives, with amazing people like you, Ashley, who have a large background in entrepreneurship. I talk to businesswomen. I talk to mental health professionals and holistic healers. I talk to all of you in this field because everyone has a story that explains how they got from the lower vibrational space of who they were when they were in the rut to where they're at now, this vibrant person. And so I like to get those stories from that vast range of people because those are the people that you least expect to have those heart-wrenching stories. So that is the story behind the Healing Room.
So powerful. And let's just talk. I just want to just commend you for just turning your pain into purpose, right? And I think a lot of people miss that, right? You could have just gave up and just gave up, right, or quit. But no, you turned it into purpose. And let's talk about mental health and, that healing process. Why don't you think people, because, and I'm going to be honest, and hey, this to be true for Black women, sometimes we don't know how to take a step back and heal and be vulnerable and be emotional, because we got the, hey, we're going to keep it going, we're going to get it done strong, all of that. So why don't you think, particularly Black women too, on top of that, but just in general, people take the time to really heal and really address those issues from inside? Because, I mean, you could appear to be fine, but inside you can be just a disaster.
Mm-hmm. That's so true, Ashley. That's a great question. The answer, from what I've learned based off of research and, my certification and personal experience, is fear. We are so afraid to face our problems, especially as Black women, because we've been told lots of things like, we have to be strong. We've been birthed into harsh environments most of us. We have always had to defend ourselves, most of us. We have always had to put on a thick layer of skin to be noticed and recognized and respected, which is not supposed to be. But because of our history, we have this X and this mark on our back that reminds us every single day that we are being looked at as strong and we have to be that way. And when I finally got to a space where I was like, hey, I'm not a machine, I'm not a robot. I am a human being. I am fragile. I am emotional. And it's not a bad thing either, because that's another stigma that, Black women are emotional and crazy and aggressive and all of these negative stereotypes. And I started to just unpack all of those lies. And I started to really allow myself to be who I was and allow myself to feel my feelings. And a lot of women, in particular Black women, are not comfortable with mental health, with finding a therapist, with seeking a counselor, because they've allowed, so society has allowed, talking to someone, holistic therapy, talking to someone, expressing your feelings to look like you're senile. We see it all the time in the movies, in media. It's always painted as a negative thing when anyone's going to seek counseling. It's just literally within the past 5 years, just half a decade ago, that, therapy and counseling has become a staple for healing, just less than a decade ago. So we're like so far behind. And, some other cultures view this as healthy, and they've been taking advantage and experiencing this space of wellness, But we've dealt with things really poorly, We've used food, to try to heal ourselves. We've used sex to try to heal ourselves. We've used, anger. We've used medication, drugs, all kinds of substances to heal ourselves, because those are the things that were presented to Black people primarily. And so now we're in a space where now we're returning back to our roots, where now most Black women are reconnecting with the Creator. We are connecting with holistic wellness, with amazing things that aren't pharmaceutical. And those things are important too, because I believe everything works together. If it is for you to be an aid, it will work for you. But I think that even the idea that a lot of us don't have that initial conversation with health professionals about what we're going through, so that they can even advise us and say, hey, I think you do need an antidepressant, or hey, I do think you need to go to yoga or exercise more. So I just feel like we're behind because of fear and shame.
Ooh, that's powerful. That's a whole other conversation by itself. Fear. That's a whole other conversation by itself. And so you went on and started your own nonprofit. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, my nonprofit. Ooh, oh my goodness, girl. We could be here all
together.
Man, I know starting a nonprofit is not for the weak at heart. It's not for
Always not.
Man, oh man, oh man. I spent years and years and years in ministry, and a lot of people who just met me like this year, last year, don't know, that I was an ordained minister, and I, was in ministry operating fully since the age of 21. And, it's just been a journey for me. So my nonprofit was when I was in full-time ministry, and it was, to help women heal. Healing has always been a calling of mine. So to help women heal, to help women start businesses and believe in themselves again, to help women manifest God's initial plan for their lives. And so I would host events and conferences, and I would just be so shocked every time. Hundreds of women showing up, and me thinking it was going to be this 25-person get together. Because women were hungry for healing. So my nonprofit was all about women, all about them shining, them growing, and them shifting. And that's why I called the nonprofit Shift. That word alone is so spiritual and so powerful. I've never ever encountered a word more powerful than the word shift. And once I understood the meaning of shift and I really, really applied, what I was learning about how one can transition their life from old to new, people just started transforming. The conferences I would host, the workshops I would host, the mentorship program I had. At some point, heck, I even had a whole merch ministry. And so it just became this thing larger than me. But there's a time and a season for everything. And I just got to a space where I had ran my course. I was so exhausted, Ashley. And there was just nobody who was around in that season to help me. It was just like me and maybe one or two people, God bless their souls. And even they couldn't, uphold the heat that came with such a large growing ministry. And so I just got to a space where God was basically just laying it on my heart, like, your work is done. You don't have to carry this burden. My physical health was being jeopardized at that point. I was having lots of issues in, my marriage at that time because of my ministry. And it just became so painful. And so saying goodbye to Shift was something that I had to do. But what that did was it launched me into healing through writing and speaking. And so I made a shift for myself. Never since
I love
then, it's been history.
I love it. I mean, the definition of turning your pain into purpose, man. I just love everything that you're doing lately. I mean, this is amazing. And so, what is some strategies? What? Let's say this. What is some advice? Because I know you are really like taking off in this media industry, right? I know you right now. You are a celebrity journalist, and you have interviewed, some major people. So, what is some advice you would give to listeners that are, looking to, definitely continue to grow up the ladder, right, to a level that you're at, and continue to, build their media credits and, do different things and collaborate with, top level, partners?
Definitely. Network. First thing you have to do is you have to know your craft. You have to really, really walk the walk and talk the talk. I know a lot of people, I'm not, at any means where, I am going to be, even though I've really encountered some great opportunities that I'm so grateful for.
Carrie Martinez, okay.
Amazing woman, yes. And it's like, you have to network. You have to know what you carry, because people, when, you finally come in contact with them, it's always about this beautiful exchange of how can I help you and how can you help me? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's never one way. And anytime it does feel one way, and there needs to be some sort of shift or evaluation, but you got to go in knowing what you are good at, knowing what you can offer someone else, and knowing what you want to be a part of. A lot of the times you have to experience trial and error. You're not going to get it right the first time. But one thing I've learned along my journey is knowing that I know what I know and I'm strong in what I'm strong in. Cannot allow people to take advantage of you. You have to really, really try to be in tune with yourself, so that when you come across, certain people or you're in certain situations where people may want to take advantage of you, you're smart enough to understand what you carry, not being cocky, but you're smart enough to understand what you carry, and you're able to know when your season is up. So I just feel like anybody who wants to be a journalist, wants to be doing media, even if you don't want to work with a company, you want to do your own thing, kudos to you. But just network, have something to offer to other people, and know what you carry. That's it.
Powerful. And let's just talk about, and then I'm going to go into, how you created your seat at the table. But, Clubhouse has been a very powerful tool, right? And it's definitely probably converted to highest with all of the platforms. So can you talk a little bit about how Clubhouse has helped you grow your brand?
Absolutely. To be quite honest, I don't go on Clubhouse very, very often. But there was a very, very specific month where I was manifesting heavily. And that word is scary for some people, but for me, it really was simple. I just set my intention on trying to connect with certain people who would benefit me and I would benefit them. It's never one way. And so I got to a space where through me just taking a few days out of the week to pop into some rooms, listen, see if I have anything to contribute, I would just contribute, honestly. I would just pop in rooms and see, hey, I think I might have something to say to this topic. I would raise my hand, I'd get called up to the room, and I would just really share what I felt I had to contribute. And, it's kind of like neck and neck in there, so you got to really, if you're going to open your mouth in a room, you got to really have something to say. So very much so my personality in the everyday life is I really don't speak until I have something to contribute. I'm not a very generous speaker. I'm okay with the awkward silences and, all those things that, we find to be strange. But, I think that when you have something to contribute, as it pertains to Clubhouse, when you have something to contribute, then people can find value in you, value in what you have going on. They want to connect. And so, just a few times, literally just a few times I contributed, and next thing you know, I was making some amazing connections. People actually reached out to me. I really didn't reach out to anybody, in all honesty. So it was just like, wow, I have something to contribute. I'm going to contribute it. I'm not going to doubt myself. I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not going to wonder if anybody is going to like what I have to say or not. If I'm going to contribute, it's because I know I have something worthy to say and to offer. And so that's the type of energy you got to have. And I think Clubhouse is really a blessing. I think, honestly, Clubhouse, I think it can be a blessing if you know how to network and navigate. But I really do think that Clubhouse has been a blessing for a lot of people who have made major, major leaps, even bigger than me. If I probably stayed on Clubhouse longer, like most people really, really stay on Clubhouse, I would probably have such a larger network. But, again, my personality trait is not fit for that necessarily. So I can only do it in dosages.
We met on Clubhouse, and so this is amazing. So it's been a blessing.
Oh, yes. Connecting with you on Clubhouse was great. I was just so amazed by everything you were doing, too. And I was like, and she's a doctor. Like, wow. So, yes.
I love it. I love it. And so you have created multiple tables for yourself and for others. So I ask all of my guests this question. How did you create your seat at the table?
That's such a great question. I love that question. Well, being myself, that is the way I created a seat at any table. And I love how you say created a seat, because some people want other people to give them a seat, or some people want to do, things that they're not comfortable doing to get a seat. And it's like, hey, you can just create a seat, like you said. So being myself really, really, really is how I created a seat, is what created that opportunity for me. You got to really be yourself, because I think people can smell that inauthenticity. People can feel that. And I mean, gosh, I just feel like there's more of that going on, in this day and age than the real. But, to each their own. However, for me, it was like, hey, I'm authentic. This is who I am. And whoever I connect with, I connect with. And I connected with some amazing people. So I think that's my trick, being myself.
I love it. I love it. And so what did failure teach you on your journey? Because I think a lot of people see successful people's accolades. They don't understand it. Everybody has to go through a process. So what did failure teach you on your journey?
What did what?
What did failure teach you on your journey?
Okay, thank you. Repeating that. Yes, yes, yes. Failure taught me that when something doesn't work out, try again. And trying again doesn't mean do the same thing. It sometimes just means make adjustments. And so failure for me really looks like me growing, because at the end of the day, it's never really a failure if you're going to take whatever you thought was going to be a certain level of success and it wasn't. And you take that and you learn from that. You own into that, you lean into that, and you find solutions. You try to see what you can add to make it where you want it to go. I think it's not a fail. I think at the end of the day, it's a part of the growth, part of the process. It's a part of the journey. So we have to begin to look at things in a holistic way. I just love using that word, because I think sometimes we look at things, either we're looking at it mentally, we're looking at it financially, I like to look at things mind, body, soul, and spirit. How does that affect me in all of these areas? Okay, I executed this thing. I didn't get the result that I wanted to get. But spiritually, did I help people? Yeah, maybe. Okay, mentally, was I clear and concise about my thoughts, about my ideas? Did I burst those things to life? Not all the way. Okay, maybe I need to go back and see what I need to still birth, or my idea that I wanted to do. Maybe I was afraid to do this or that, and I got carried away, and that's maybe why I didn't get to that level. Physically, how do I feel about it on the inside? Do I feel proud? Do I feel good? Is it stressing me out? Do I feel like I'm about to pass out? Am I still taking care of myself while I'm trying to accomplish this thing? I go through all the holistic realms to make sure that what I'm doing is not just succeeding because, it's bringing in financial wealth, but it fits my mental health, my physical health, my spiritual health, my emotional health. And you can't fail when you're paying attention to your well-being. You can't fail when you're paying attention to how you are perceived and how you treat others. You can't fail when you're paying attention to something you want to accomplish and you are inviting your morals into the picture as well. So, I know so many people, Ashley, who feel like they've succeeded, but they've gone against all the things that they believe in. It's not benefiting their mental health. It's not benefiting their physical health. It's not benefiting their spiritual health. And it's like, hey, if failure looks like me keeping my standards, well, I guess I'm winning then. So I think it's like a really fine line between, failure and growth.
I love it. And thanks for explaining it. So, really breaking it down, right? Because normally, people kind of have like the same answer with it, but I like how you broke that down, because it's really a lesson at the end of the day.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Give
so
people
success, because you're very successful. So what did success teach you?
Thank you so much for saying that. Success taught me that anything's possible, honestly. Anything is possible. I have been a serial entrepreneur at some point where I mean, wow, I was bringing in good money, working all these different jobs, these different gifts. You know, your gifts will make room for you. So natural things I was good at. Just really, really, really allowed me to experience things that I never thought that I would be able to experience. But just like really, really putting myself out there and trying it, and then it actually working out taught me that anything's possible. Literally anything is possible. The power of manifestation is so simple. It's so simple. It's
Yep.
literally, yeah, it's literally a mental exercise. That's really all it is. It's brain power. It's a mental exercise. Manifestation is mental. That's all it is. Who has time to think about the fear of failing when you're too busy just doing what you got to do? I remember one time, Dr. Ashley, I was actually talking to a friend of mine who is a successful relationship coach. And I was like, girl, this is when I was like really, really going through a season of feeling overwhelmed, and I started to just get anxiety again when it came to like business and work. And so I just was like, my gosh, I think I'm just gonna take a break. She was just like, yeah, you can take a break. She said, or you could stop overthinking and you could just execute. She was like, I don't even think anymore. I just make my list. I just execute that sucker one by one by one by one. I was like, yeah, but this and that and this. And she was just like, girl, by the time I get done going through all those things, I done already finished my list. I was just so like in awe of her like simplicity in execution that it made me feel a little silly. So I took that lesson with me. I took that conversation with me, which to me was like a lesson, and I ran with it, and I connected that to my spiritual belief of manifestation, which anything is possible. And I said, okay, it just takes mental exercise, takes a little bit of brain power. It just That's all it takes. Manifestation is just mental exercise, brain power, and boom. You just do it, and boom, and you manifest it. Whatever you've been thinking about or wanting. Sometimes manifestation is just laying in your bed and staring up at the ceiling and daydreaming about what it looks like when you open that boutique or you start that media company or you write that book. Sometimes manifestation just looks like you have an idea and you just write it. Like for me as a writer, I have books laying all over my house, journals that are just books, and I'm just waiting to launch them. And it's like, okay, I just sat down one day and I started thinking of something, and the next thing you knew, it was a book. It was a whole 200-page book. So it's just like manifestation is just really not overthinking it, and I feel like that's my like key to success.
I love that. And not overthinking it. People that are listening right now, not overthinking it, right? Just executing. And I think people miss that part. You talk, it's less talking, more executing, right? And just doing it afraid, doing it anyway, and just doing it. And I think people are so caught up in the perfectionist part of it. It ain't gonna never be perfect.
Mhm.
Yes. So what can we expect from you the rest of 2021? We get ready to close out the first quarter. So what can we expect from you?
Well, I'm launching a book
Yay!
April.
Congratulations!
Thank you. I'm very excited. This is my second self-published book, and the first one, I took it off the shelf, but this one is very special. This one is very special because it's a piece of me that I haven't exposed to the world yet. So I'm going to be launching a book on April 2nd, just pre-orders first, and then later on it'll be available, and it'll just be on Amazon and wherever else I can get it, hopefully on some shelves. But what people can expect from me is just lots of writing. Writing is my safe space, and that's where I feel like I am myself the most. So check me out. If you don't like to read, check me out, because I got lots to say. And it's very, very intriguing. So check me out.
So when are you launching the book? Do you have a launch date yet?
Yeah, the launch date is April 2nd.
Amazing. Well, super congrats. Make sure you check her out and go support and buy the book. And I know you got some other amazing things that are coming up for the rest of this year as well. So I can't wait to see all of the things that I know God is about to birth in this new year for you. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes. So tell our listeners, Layla, how they can follow and support you on all social media platforms.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. That's all I have. It is Leela Zion, my first and last name. So Lehllieh Zion, Zion. And yeah, find me, follow me, and stay connected. I hope you guys really enjoy my book as well.
Leela is definitely somebody to know and connect with, so make sure you all follow her, support her. She's definitely somebody to know and connect with. So, Leela, thank you for taking the time out of your very, very busy schedule to come on the show tonight and come to the table, and I cannot wait to invite you back.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ashley. I really appreciate you. I had a swell time, and thank you to your listeners as well for tuning in.
You are welcome, and I appreciate you too, and look forward to continuing to collaborate with you. And happy early birthday.
Thanks. I can't wait to post those pictures. I'm excited. Thank you.
Awesome. And so I would like to give a special thanks to my intern, Sarah, who is a Tennessee State University alumni. And I would also like to give a special thanks to my intern, Vontaria, who is a student at Winston-Salem State University. You all may follow me on Facebook at Dr. Ashley Little and on Instagram at _Ashley A. Little. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creating Your Seat at the Table, where Ashley speaks with corporate professionals, celebrities, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers who are transitioning or have transitioned to entrepreneurship.